If you care about how people endure when systems collapse, this story matters. And, well, if you want more deep research like this, subscribe to the channel now and share it with someone who still believes food security is a modern invention. What follows is not nostalgia. It's hard-earned knowledge pulled from wartime laboratories, bombed-out cities, prison camps, and exhausted farmland, where failure meant starvation. During the Second World War, agronomists, soldiers, and civilians were forced to solve a brutal problem: how to grow food in soil that had been stripped, poisoned, compacted, frozen, or simply non-existent. What they discovered still works today. How total war forced a complete rethink of soil survival. By 1940, much of Europe's best farmland was either under occupation, cratered by bombing, or drained of nutrients by decades of intensive farming. Chemical fertilizers were diverted to explosives, fuel was rationed, and imported food was cut off. Governments quietly turned to soil scientists and field experimenters for answers. Under agencies like the British Ministry of Agriculture and agricultural units tied to the United States War Department, research shifted from yield optimization to survival cultivation. The question was no longer how to grow more, but how to grow anything at all. Why soil was treated as a living system, not just dirt. One of the most important wartime realizations was that soil could not be treated as inert matter. Researchers, really emphasized biological activity over chemistry. Earthworms, fungi, bacteria, and decomposing organic matter became absolutely central. In bombed London lots and frozen Eastern Front camps, growers learned that lifeless soil could actually be revived by feeding microorganisms before, feeding plants. Compost was not a hobby, it was a strategic resource. Kitchen scraps, shredded paper, straw, wood ash, and even wool waste were layered and turned to create biologically active humus. Modern survival gardeners can apply this directly by prioritizing microbial life, first using compost teas or buried organic matter weeks before planting, rather than relying on fertilizers that may be unavailable. How raised beds and trench systems bypassed ruined ground. In many wartime environments, the ground itself was unusable due to rubble, contamination, or compaction. The solution was elevation. Raised beds built from scavenged bricks, wood, or sandbags allowed growers to import controlled soil layers. Trench gardening went even further. Deep trenches were filled with organic waste at the bottom, topped with soil, and planted above. This created internal heat, moisture retention, and slow nutrient release. The method was used in prisoner gardens, Arctic outposts, and devastated urban centers. Today this translates into hugelkultur-style beds or deep compost trenches that allow crops to thrive even on rocky or polluted land. Why crop selection, actually mattered more than technique. Wartime soil science, it really emphasized ruthless crop prioritization. Leafy greens that matured quickly and tolerated poor soil were favored over calorie-heavy but fragile crops. Kale, chard, turnips, beets and cabbage, they absolutely dominated survival plots. Root crops were selected not for size, but for reliability. Potatoes were grown in sacks, boxes, and even piles of soil because they tolerated uneven nutrients and could be added to gradually as they grew. A modern application is clear. When soil quality is uncertain, it's best to start with resilient, fast-growing crops that improve soil structure rather than exhaust it. How ash, charcoal, and rubble were turned into soil assets. Bombing debris was not wasted. Crushed brick, mortar dust, and charcoal from fires were mixed into soil to improve drainage and mineral content. This unintentionally mirrored ancient biochar practices. Charred wood increased water retention and microbial habitat, while ash provided potassium in controlled amounts. Wartime manuals warned against excess, stressing balance rather than abundance. Today's gardeners can replicate this by incorporating small amounts of crushed charcoal or clean wood ash into compost, improving soil resilience without dependence on commercial inputs. How human waste was handled with scientific caution. One of the most uncomfortable but, vital lessons of World War II soil science involved waste recycling. In extreme conditions, human waste was composted using strict separation and aging protocols to prevent disease. It was never applied fresh. Instead, it was buried, layered with carbon-rich material, and left to decompose for extended periods. While modern sanitation usually removes the need for this, the principle remains relevant in off-grid scenarios. Proper composting time and microbial action are honestly non-negotiable when nutrients are scarce and safety matters. Why water management was inseparable from soil survival. Soil science during the war recognized that water retention could mean the difference between life and death. Mulching was aggressively practiced using straw, leaves, paper, and even fabric scraps. Soil was shaded, not exposed. Irrigation favored slow seepage rather than surface watering to prevent evaporation and nutrient loss. Applying this today, it means prioritizing mulch thickness, drip-style watering, and soil cover rather than sticking with bare beds that, lose moisture rapidly. What this knowledge means for modern survival and resilience. The hidden lesson of World War II soil science is not about desperation, but actually about adaptability. These methods were not inferior substitutes for modern agriculture. They were systems designed to function under pressure. Anyone today facing degraded land, urban constraints, or, uncertain supply chains can apply these principles immediately. Build soil biology first. Grow in layers, not just surfaces. Choose crops that heal soil instead of draining it. Treat waste, ash, and debris as potential resources when managed correctly. This is not romantic history, it's proven survival science, written in the margins of war reports and field notes, rediscovered every time modern systems fail. If this kind of grounded, serious history matters to you, do subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who thinks resilience is a new idea, and, stay with us as we continue uncovering the forgotten knowledge that kept people alive when nothing else worked.